All right, thanks for joining me. Got another great guest today on the show. Willi Carlisle's with us. Um, he's on tour on the road right now. I was able to get him to park the car and have a little chat with us about music and touring and how he got started and basically everything about him. I love his music. I think he's super talented, great writer, entertaining. Just all the good stuff you would want in an artist. I think Willie's got. Um, well, I'm thinking about it. We do have our big show coming up. Willie's here, co-headlining with Foreign and Strange Band. We got Todd Dayway, Vaden Landers, and Allie Jean's going to kick things off that day. October 15th, $12. I mean, come on. I made it as cheap as I possibly could. These guys need paid. I don't want any money. The band, the group, the guys, the artists, they all need paid. The venue's got to make money. It's tough. It's a tough world. But yeah, $12. Come on out. October 15th. It's on a Saturday, downtown Indianapolis at Radio. Link in the description there if you want to make the trip. And yeah, it's going to be a good time, good show. Got a couple things I do need to say. Two of them I'm not too happy to say. The audio you're about to hear on this interview went to hell. I don't know what happened on my vocals with the microphone was too close to something else and it was picking up whatever it is. I sound like Lucifer. So I tried to clean it up a little bit, but it's beyond me. So but nonetheless, the interview's still great. Willie's got, a lot of info there. I'm not trashing the interview. We gotta air this. So just bear with me, hang in there. It's not gonna be like that all the time. Just know that it was on my end and that's it. Also, another thing, I'm gonna have to change the name of the show. It's no longer gonna be Spin That Shit Podcast. Using the word shit in all the titles, social media, YouTube, it picks up on the algorithm and wants to censor that stuff and I don't get near enough views. Stuff doesn't get recognized. People don't see it. So yeah, I'm changing the name. Just keep that in mind. We'll be moving forward. I'll announce that on social media. If you're already following the channel and page, you don't have to do anything else. Just keep doing that. But you'll notice the text and the titles change. But everything else is still the same. Thanks for all the support. We do have a Patreon account out there, link below in the description. If you want to tip us, throw us a couple bones here, keep this podcast rolling. That'd be great. So, all right, let's go talk to Willie. All right, Willie. Thank you for joining me. It's been a minute. I've been wanting to get you on the show for a while.
I've been wanting to be on it for a while. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks.
Busy summer touring.
Woo. Yeah. And I was just trying to think if I'd had a couple days off since May, and not really. There's it's like what constitutes a day off. To me, a day off is where you go to the river and you don't even bring your phone, and like nobody contacts you, no one knows where you are. That's a day off. I haven't had that in a while. I've had some days where it's like, well, you're not literally hauling ass from one town to another and playing a show, but not very many of those either. Maybe only 5 or 6 of those since May. We've been working really hard. I've been having a great time. Been to Europe and well, god damn, all over the place. I'll give you the recap if you want. But
trooper. Yeah. So you've seen the show. We always, for first time artists on the show, we like to start at the way back at the beginning. Like how did you get your start? How did you get into music? I know you do some calling for square dancing and things like that. I was interested in that. That's not really in my wheelhouse. I don't know anything about it really, but I find it interesting.
Well, it is interesting. I came to this music through my family. My family's really musical. They're from Kansas. I say I'm from Arkansas. I say that's because where my heart lives right now, but I was born and raised in Kansas. And a bit of my heart lives there too. I can't lie. And some in Missouri, and well, I've left pieces of it all over the place. But my father ran sound at a bluegrass festival in Kansas called Winfield, pretty legendary festival. And he had records floating around from that time. So I listened to all those records. I enjoyed all of them. Cowboy singers. that like and not even necessarily cowboy singers, just like the solo folk artists. And I had it in the back of my head. My dad's a pretty hardworking guy, and he had a lot of stories about. Well, he had a lot of hard work stories, but the fun stories were always him as a musician. He would say, "Hey, we'd go out to the back of the Dairy Queen and we'd tune up before we cross the street to the bowling alley to play." And what he meant was they'd go smoke a doobie uh, behind the Salina, Kansas Dairy Queen. And as a kid, you're like, man, that just sounds like fun. Like he's laughing about it. He's remembering pranks that they did on each other. They worked they played music working the like prom circuit. So there'd be a prom in one rural Kansas town, and then they go play the prom the other night, and then the next night they play a VFW, and it was like, that model doesn't necessarily exist anymore, but it was what initially inspired me to want to play. When I became a teenager, I bought a guitar so I bought a guitar at 18, just instantly. I couldn't wait, and I knew I was going to be a folk singer right away. I think it was in my heart. And I say that because it was just like the transformation was like instant. And there's very few things in my life I can say that about. I always loved poetry. I always loved to read. I always wanted to be a working artist, but the moment that I put a guitar in my hands, it was like I had this background of old songs that I could do. I know this is a long answer. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, no, I love it.
And I didn't even always know what I had. It would be like, who is this guy, Lead Belly? But I know I've heard him before, but for a teenager to have that background was pretty cool. Like, what is this song, Mr. Bojangles? Like, I think I can play Mr. Bojangles. It was like that kind of thing, yeah.
That's wild. You didn't pick up a guitar till you were 18?
Yeah, I know, right? But it's total transformation. It's total transformation. It was like, so I sang in choirs. I loved being in school choir. I was the king of the madrigal singers, which is one of those like, I don't know how to explain that. I just loved singing. And I also liked history. So it was like, man, you mean I can sing these old nerd songs in like Latin? At nursing homes and stuff. I was a pig in shit in the Madrigal Singers. I made out with just about everybody in the Madrigal Singers too. Like that band kid stuff. Somebody out there knows what I mean when I say that band kid stuff. But no, I didn't play any instruments. I went to my first square dance at 18 too. And that was another conversion experience. But I didn't encounter more square dancing until I got to Arkansas. And that was one of the things that let me know I was home when I got to Arkansas. It was like the two things I loved, folk music and this dancing was just like there.
Yeah. So what region would you say that's happening around in Arkansas?
Oh, it's COVID has hurt a lot of it, but it's happening in the Ozarks. Most of the square dancing that people learn in like middle school is related to Henry Ford, the industrialist. Most of the stuff that the square dancing that we do is related to that guy's legacy of trying to calcify or ossify or standardize American folk dance traditions in order to exclude jazz and exclude African American dance forms, etc. Which is to say that Henry Ford is an asshole and a racist. But there are places where vernacular square dancing has survived. Any square dancing that's survived, any like nice communal activity, I think is good for people to do. I really do, and I think that it's all probably a net positive. But the stuff that we learned in middle school it's like it's government mandated. It's like the presidential fitness test. It doesn't matter how much you like doing pull-ups, you don't like the presidential fitness test, right? So most places square dancing has gone to die. But in places like the Ozarks, it's still alive because of a living vernacular tradition where folks get together and hold hands as a part of their community. And sometimes for the sake of hokum or for the sake of tourism or something like that too, a little bit.
Yeah, we didn't really grow up with that around where I'm from here in central Indiana. And,
right.
But my mom's side, the family roots go out more towards the east there, eastern Kentucky, Pennington Gap, Virginia. It's more Appalachia style stuff, and
So it's pretty alive in Appalachia too. Of course, it really
yeah,
is. It's
the
alive all across the
traditions.
South.
So
And there's pockets of it. And my grandfather, this doesn't make, it's one of those things that doesn't make any sense, but my grandfather was a hell of a square dancer in California, and it was all vernacular square dancing. But there's pockets of people everywhere that do it, you know.
yeah, that's crazy. California square dancing.
I mean, you know, it's got to happen somewhere, right?
Anything goes. Yeah, I love the Ozarks. What is there a particular town or place that you can mention that has a place that you can just show up and be at one, like every Saturday night
Yeah.
in this town? Or
You know, that's a good question. A lot of those have gone away. There's a gathering in Gainesville, Missouri called Hootin' and Hollerin'. That's once a year. That this whole city square shuts down for 3 or 4 days. It may be 2 or 3 days. I wouldn't want to overstate, but that's massive. And there's everybody from high schoolers up to, you know, children up to old folks doing it. I learned a lot of great dances. There's also the West Plains Ozark Old Time Music Festival in West Plains, Missouri. There also is in Mountain View, Arkansas. They have a yearly folk festival. Mountain View is a great place. There's a monthly in Mountain View, Arkansas. That's in central Arkansas. I'm trying to start another monthly one in Northwest Arkansas. And I'm trying to get bloody money. I'm trying to get bad money to do a good thing. And I'm still a little conflicted about it, actually. You know, they're not going to listen to your podcast, I'm glad to say. But like, I want some of these rich assholes that live in Northwest Arkansas to pay old fiddle players and old square dance callers really, really well to do their public service, which is getting groups of people together to hold hands and put their shit aside for a minute and start the process of like creating an actual sense of solidarity with each other.
that sounds amazing.
I hope
If
it
it
can
could
work.
just be that simple.
Yeah, I know, right? I think I might have a simple way of looking at it.
Yeah. So what made you want to? I mean, obviously you picked up the guitar and all this stuff, and it kind of changed your life, moving. Then you were like, all right, I'm going to start writing. Like, I'm going to be a folk musician. What's your writing process like?
So I was always writing. I studied poetry on purpose. Um, I loved, you know, a lot of people didn't like school. I didn't like school. I wasn't very good at it, but I did get to study poetry. And that was incredible because I was always writing. I was one of those kids that, like, you know, when MySpace came along, I had a blog, and you know, I always had like a dozen writing projects going on. I had stories I was writing, stuff like that. So I was working on process pretty young, and I was lucky, but I also was really motivated. Like I wanted to write like people that I love to read, and so when I started writing folk songs in particular, you know, they say you got to write a few hundred bad ones, and I really did. And I wrote flat imitations. I remember there was a song that I first wrote that was like, it was just a drive-by trucker song with some changed lyrics to it. About half the lyrics were the same because it was like I didn't know how to do it, but I could copy. You know, I could play covers, but I knew how to make them my own. And there was this really awkward period, and I'm so glad I didn't record any of it. I really am, because you have to get the bad ones out of the way. And so I guess my process is I'm always working on a lot. I'm very disorganized. I'm trying to love myself, right? Everybody's got their foibles. I'm fucking disorganized. I've always got maybe dozens, if not, if it sounds like I'm being an asshole, it's not intentional. I've got dozens, if not like 100 or more things I'm working on at any time. And by working, I mean organized documents by season. Everything from my goddamn grocery list to the everything else is in there, like grocery list, diary, notes from my damn therapist, notes about gigs, when I'm meeting up for the Spin That Shit podcast is on there, and it all appears roughly chronologically in that season document. So it'd be like I can pull up spring, and I've done this my whole life, so I could pull up spring 2013 from way the hell back when and read roughly what I was thinking for that whole year.
Holy shit, that's crazy.
And that coupled with the back pocket notebooks, which are also very disorganized, means that I can kind of chart my own thinking for a long time. And this is helpful with process because it's like, if I want to write like an asshole, if I want to write like a teenager, or I want to see what I was thinking about, I can revisit some of those old hurts, and I can sometimes find a little gem in there, like a little like, hey, that little diary entry, that dumbass was really going through something. Have a compassionate experience with it. Yeah, I'd say the writing process it's about what you read, it's about what you put in your brain and put in your ears, and you have to defend that territory. And then it's about making sure that you hold your own process as important enough to know that it's all the work. Like, it's all the work. Everything that you write is going to matter something.
Yeah. Yeah, it's something I definitely love about your music is it definitely has the poetry feel, and it's, I don't know, I guess it depends on the song, but you go on a journey when I listen to your stuff. You really do. You take me to those places when you have songs, certain songs.
I admit it's what we're trying to do. I like story songs. The number one. So the reviews of the last record have been really good, and I've been really proud of them. I love that reviewers have written about my record. The negative things, of course, you get 100 positive things and one negative thing. The average human brain remembers the one negative thing, right? The thing that people tell me is that there's too many words. They literally have, like, 3 people have been like, if there were just fewer words, it might be. And my thought is kind of like, you know what? We're never going to get along, brother. If you want fewer words, I would like to write. One thing I struggle with, I will say, now that I have that, like, when you talk about the stories and taking people places, that takes time, right? You need the setup, you need a conflict, you need a resolution. Like, that's at least 3 verses right there.
Yeah.
And how many amazing songs are there with just 2 verses? Feathered Indians right now, 2 verses, right? 3 times through the chorus, 4 times through the chorus, 2 solos in it, right? Amazing song, tells a complete story in only 2 tiny little verses.
Right. Yeah, you got to think to do all that, take someone through that journey, and you probably realistically have about 3 minutes to do it, roughly. I mean, that's the attention span, If you can't cram it in there, then they're on to something else.
One of my least favorite songwriting adages, I can't remember who this is. I think it's Tom Petty, is "Don't bore us, get to the chorus." But I'm coming to the conclusion, not "Don't bore us, get to the chorus." I think that's awful. But I'm coming to the conclusion that maybe you can write a slamming good hook, and maybe that's actually enough in this crazy ass world of ours. Is that if you can get the right message across in 2.5 minutes or 3 minutes, then congratulations. And I really I've been against that for a long time. As somebody with who's the title track of their record is a 7-minute long talking blues song. Yeah.
So the reviews overall have been great. Peculiar Missouri.
Yeah. I couldn't be more pleased. Really, we've hit the top of our mountains.
Yeah.
We sold out of vinyl.
Right? I know. Are you going to get some more in, I'm hoping?
I really hope that they'll be in by the time we do the Spin That Shit festival, but I don't know. There's only so fast that ship is coming from the Czech Republic, and that ship doesn't take my phone calls,
Yeah.
So,
well,
it was wild.
If you get a batch in, hold me one. Okay.
Oh, you've got
that day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got it. Absolutely. 100%.
That's great though. He's selling out and getting good reviews. I was blown away when there's not like, some people write a record and have like a whole theme or concept, or just like individual snippets at different time, which I feel like that's what it is. But at the end, it all meets up and makes this one giant masterpiece. Like, it's awesome.
Thank you. I'm really proud to say we didn't make any compromises, not even one. I didn't do anything I didn't want to do, and I did a lot of things I was afraid of. I'm not afraid of writing songs or playing songs. But I was afraid of a little bit of the organization of the record. You know, I want to write songs that I thought were queer songs for the record, and I really didn't want my label to just make me into a queer artist. I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't really trust like pride-based marketing. It drives me crazy. I'm not in that world. So I had a label that was like, hey, I bet we can manage it, and we think this is great material. You should put this in the record instead of, and here's the hard thing, the dozens of other songs that could work. Let's flesh out the most honest narrative that we can. Let's say the hardest thing to say and try to thread the needle. So I'm glad it came together for you, because it did for me too, and it was a journey for me as well.
Yeah. Tulsa's Last Musician, or Magician, and Life on the Fence.
Everybody does that. I do it too.
Yeah. Man, there's so many good ones. Then Van Life, it's taken me a second to get used to that version of that honky tonk. But both are amazing. You know, got used to the more acoustic side.
Yeah, it surprises me that anybody likes that version, because to me, I'm on the top of a van freaking out. All I can smell is my panic. All I can hear is my panic attack. It's like all I can hear is me like balancing on top of the van, being like shit the whole time. So I'm glad people like that version, but I could not wait to get that one in the studio. Because I got to have, it's so fun to hire shit hot guys. Like the pedal steel and chicken picking guy, Chris Stafford, is just like so good. So yeah, I still like the 9-minute version. I get to do it live sometimes too. So yeah.
Yeah. What's some of your favorites that you were like unsure of, but then by the time you got it done recorded, you were like, well, okay, this is something good here. Anything like that?
Well,
I didn't know about Esther Moon though, the conjunto piece on there with the accordion. That's an old cowboy song that, if you've heard me live, you've probably heard me tell the story, because I tell it a lot, but I haven't said it on any kind of podcast or anything. It's the story of this indigenous farmer from New Mexico who loses his water rights. And that story, he told it directly to a poet who told it to my mentor in cowboy music, who wrote it into a song with a friend of his. That's like 4 processes of translation before it gets to me. And it's an indigenous story. And it's played on a button accordion in a Tex-Mex style. I'm not literally a Tex-Mex person, right? So that was complicated, but also it was like, is this shit boring to people? Are people bored by an old cowboy song? To me, that song is like perfect evidence that for every one beautiful thing that we get, there's 1,000 things that go away, that disappear in the dark, right? 1,000 stories that go away. I don't know the name of my great grandmother, and I don't know what song she sang, but I feel lucky and blessed to have that song come down into my life, to tell the life and hard times of this man I don't have very much in common with. And I want to honor that. I want to honor the ghost, So I was worried that a general audience would be like, what the hell is there? Why now he's speaking in Spanish? I just don't get it. On one level, but then I was also worried that other people would be like, this is really problematic. But the result has been really nice. I got that's Max Baca from Los Tex Maniacs playing the bajo sexto on it, and he was stoked on it, which was really cool. He called Flaco Jimenez during the recording session. It was kind of a flex. If you know, so I don't know if anybody of the listeners know who Flaco Jimenez is or Max Baca, but like legendary players in the Tex-Mex conjunto were just like they liked the song. They thought it was cool. They thought it was a good
Yeah.
idea. So, and I was so, being in the, so you're talking about like how we felt in the studio is like my sense of relief. Like I remember my lungs just opened up and it was like, fuck, he thinks this story is interesting and worth telling. Like, thank God. Because I'd run it by friends and stuff, I'd run it by friends and family and native speakers to get my Spanish right. But I didn't really know yet. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a beautiful song. Speaking of accordion, is there something that you don't play? I mean, it seems like you can play any instrument out there. Bones,
Uh,
accordion, guitar, banjo.
The way that I've taught myself things has always been to use the instrument for its primary purpose. What I really mean by that is like to get competent in first position, play simply. I think what I like people to know is that I'm basically playing cowboy chords on all these instruments. I'm doing what's simple. I just want to do 3 chords in the truth with as many different palettes as possible. I want to go from oil paints to pastel real quick and then go to watercolor real quick. I find that really fun. But I'm not doing anything complicated, and I can't read music. I can't play piano. I can't play piano. I can't play. Oh God. I mean, you're seeing me play everything I can play. Period. I can play nothing
You're not
else. I don't
holding
want to
back
pick
on
anything. No, God, no. I'm just trying to keep up. Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah, when you come to town, I got those bones I made for you out of deer legs ready to go.
oh, badass.
Very
They're-
fine.
I mean, they're not. It's the actual shin, so they're not as long as probably as what people traditionally play. But I'm sure they'll work. I just gave a pair to Max, the drummer of Reverend Peyton's Big Damn Band. I
Oh,
don't know if
nice.
you've heard of those guys. He plays a
Of
little bit.
course,
And
yeah.
I got a set made for Dom Clemens too. Next time I see him.
Oh, badass.
So
Dom gave me the best bones playing advice, which was oh, actually no, it wasn't Dom. Dom was impossible to learn from because it was so complicated because he's so good.
that sounds about right.
He's like, Dom is so good at it, I can't understand what he's doing. And I play them all the time. It's like I play them every day. And then he's like, well, you just do. And then it's all over the place.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I got them ready. So
I will look forward to that. That it's always fun to well, each pair of bones is different. Every banjo is different. Most guitars are pretty much the same. But bones, it's like a whole new. I mean, it's literally a whole other animal every time you pick up another set of bones, I guess, isn't it?
yeah, technically, yeah, everyone's unique in its own way. I love banjo. What banjo do you play or prefer? Like brand, or you got a homemade deal, or you got a brand
I've
name?
had a lot of them. I've always liked antiques. All right. Well, so I will tell everybody, if you can get an old Harmony with a Bakelite rim, or any banjo from Sears Roebuck up, or that has a Bakelite rim, that's an amazing place to start. Banjos from the 70s and 80s and before, that are essentially the shitty budget banjos. Back then were really well made in Korea. I like to say that out loud because I have had tons of them. He told me not to say this, but I guess I'll say it anyways. Because whatever, I'll fight him. Is right now I'm playing on Benjamin Todd's old banjo, which was maybe the nicest gift I've ever received. He said to me, when I thanked him, he was like, "Yeah, whatever. I've been broke too." So, so he plays. He had this. It's a nice banjo. It's a white lady, Bernunzio white lady, which is a replica of a model of I believe an SS Stewart banjo that was originally manufactured in the teens and 20s. And it's not a perfect replica. I've played on a ton of the older ones. I've never been able to afford one. But mostly I played on budget banjos. Recording King is making great shit. There's this like cult on the internet that insists that things have to be made in America. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for buying things that are locally made. But if you really are like, you must buy an American banjo, and then, you're drinking Dos Equis while you eat your Asian fusion pho with Swedish meatballs in it, then it's like we're living in the 21st century, man.
Yeah.
They make great banjos and for cheap
I'm with
over
you.
the seas. But what do you play?
I had a gold tone. I started out. I found a banjo at a flea market. Little Dean. It's like $100 deal, half broken and busted, with some strings on it, just to see if I could even do it. And when I first picked that up, I didn't even know, like, I wanted to play claw hammer stuff. This was resonator, not that you can't play that, but I didn't understand that yet. This was, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago. No, probably about 15 years ago. But once I figured that out, no one around here taught it, so I ended up just doing Scruggs style. There was a local guy here. He actually played a little bit with Bill Monroe back in the day. He's
nice.
He's like 80 something years old, and he lives a couple miles down the road, so it worked out. And I was always telling him I want to learn claw hammer. Anybody out there, you know? And he didn't really know anyone either. And finally, I found Allie. She's playing the show in October. She's opening. She loves folk music.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she'll be doing a little flatfoot dancing and some harmonica work and fiddle and all that. But she kind of got me going on that, and I went down that direction.
So,
What I always just tell people is get the $100 one, figure out how to set it up yourself. Just ask the damn internet, and then never put it back in its case, right? Like just just keep it, bring it, put it in your car, bring it wherever you go. You're here, it's here to be destroyed. It's not precious, right? And then you actually can learn it. It's hard to learn. It's hard to learn, especially if you don't have anybody in person to learn from. It's tough.
Yeah, I'm definitely more hands-on, one-on-one type. I mean, you can find all kinds of stuff online, but I do better the other way.
Me too.
I have you heard of the banjo builder there in Brasstown, North Carolina, Mulherron Craft? He does woodworking too. He teaches at the folk school down there.
Oh, nice. No, I haven't heard of him.
They're works of art. So it's like you don't even want to touch them; they're too pretty. But he's building me one right now, and I hope to get it next month. But
that's so cool. So I just went on that Asian banjo builders tangent, but one of the great things is that there's incredible American artisans making incredible instruments right now. Once you get the budget, right? Once you figure out, and dude, that's so cool that you're at that point that you can make the investment in the beautiful thing. I mean, like, I haven't done that for myself yet, so I'm a little jealous. But whatever I have, it has to be a log. You know what I mean? It's got to be like I need to beat it into the ground. One of these days, I'm gonna have my showroom, my showroom banjo, or my front porch picker, the one that doesn't travel much. Yeah, I hope.
Yeah, that's what this one's gonna be. It's I'm a taxidermist and stuff, and I like to keep things traditional in a sense. And he's using a goat skin head on it. So I thought that was cool, using the actual. It might be a pain to deal with if the weather's good or bad, but it'll be a learning curve. But I'm looking forward to it.
If I could use a skin head, I would. 100%. It's just too temperamental.
yes.
Yeah, I think if I was doing what you were doing, boy, I'd do a goat skin in a heartbeat. I would do a goat skin. Well, I might still. I shouldn't, but I might. It's too tempting. There's already so many things that'll go wrong with a folk music setup, right? Like my fiddle bridge is just like constantly bending because I use big steel strings and I cross tune all the time. The banjo is always getting banged like this because I do these big brush strokes, and so the bridge is always moving around too. And I go through guitar strings like a motherfucker. Accordions hate moisture, and they go just this teensy bit out of tune if they're even like near the rain. Anyways, it's just like harmonicas. Hell, I always have like busted. I've got one in my hand right now just out of habit. They go out of tune so fast if you play them really hard and a lot, and they're cheap. So I don't know. There's just a lot of things that can go wrong in folk music, and a skinned head is another one of those last things that can go wrong, right?
Yeah.
It's just like that little bit out of tune. But another way, it's like, it's got to sound. It's got to have the realness to it, and the realness is like a little bit out of tune. There's a little bit. Sounds a little bit rough around the edges. Sounds a little bit old.
Yeah.
Sounds real.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny bringing up Benjamin. I'm going to go down to his place here in a month or so, and do another sit down podcast. I asked him last time around about the banjo. Like, I hear you do these, you have a few songs recorded with banjo. How come I never see you on stage with the banjo? And that's exactly what he's saying. There's pain in the ass. He doesn't want to deal with it.
I mean, and the reason that I deal with it might be some like horrible sense of just needing to please everybody. One of the things that I've learned the most from Ben is don't fucking try to please people. Do whatever you want. And I think originally I was like, hey, if I play all these instruments, everyone will be entertained, and then I'll know that I've done something different. Now that I get to like search my heart and be like, what do I want to play? Sometimes the banjo doesn't make it to the stage these days. Most of the time it does. But if I'm not feeling writing on the banjo, well, then I'm just going to leave it behind. And that has been like one of the nice things to learn from colleagues.
Yeah.
That you do your best work when you're doing whatever you want.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Huh. Yeah, Benjamin, he's a hoot.
I've never had so much. Well, I've never had so much fun touring with somebody. I really haven't. I'm jealous you get to go out there. I really am.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go out pretty soon as I can. As soon as I get off of this endless tour.
So you said you're in Texas right now. Where are you heading out after this?
Well, tonight I'm headed to Austin. I got this manager I'm gonna set up. I'm really excited to work with. I'm going to see Robert Earl Keen and Todd Snyder. I got backstage passes tonight. I'm pretty excited for that. See some of the best in the biz. I'm going to head to New Orleans for a show, and then I'm doing a festival in Southern Illinois called Summer Sundown, and then I'm headed to Americana Fest in Nashville. And then, by God, I am headed towards the East Coast to play Fresh Grass in Massachusetts, do a short run on the East Coast, and then I'm headed to you in India, motherfucking Annapolis. And we're going to put on an amazing concert on October 15th.
Yeah. I'm looking
I think that's as far as my crystal ball goes.
That's awesome. Well, Willie, I won't take up too much more of your time here. So, like I said, I appreciate you sitting down and kind of.
Oh yeah,
filling me in.
Thanks for having me. I know I'll talk your ear off.
Oh, that's what this show's about. It's good to talk to all these artists and just kind of get behind the scenes, either about songs or them in general, and it just makes the music better when you go to listen to it. In my opinion.
I hope so.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you want to ask? What's your closer?
I don't have one. I have no rules on this show.
That's right.
The closer is where can people find all your goodies, your merch?
Yes.
Your website?
Yeah, my name is Willi with no E. Don't put the E in there. You won't find it. I got weird parents. Just Willi. It's Willi. I think that's normal but the Carlisle, and if you just Google me, I'm the only one in existence that is white and still alive. If you really need to figure out how to find me, and that's just the Google box will get you right there, and I'm identifiable. Yeah, everything's up on the website. I've got a lot of touring yet to come. I'm meeting up with Amigo the Devil shortly after our work together in Indiana, motherfucking Annapolis. I'm really excited about. And I got a great 2023 coming up too.
Yeah. Any other inside details that you working on any other projects outside of what we already know about?
So here's a beautiful thing. When a record release goes well, you realize that you can do whatever you want. I've got so many good options. I have 3 special releases on the horizon that are smaller than a record, but larger than a single. I'm really proud of them. Those are, they're not quite teasers. They're bigger than teasers. But I would call them small plates, and that's happening. And in the meantime, right now, literally this week, we start to dream like crazy to make whatever we want. And I'm so excited. I was like, I don't even know what producer we're working with. I don't know anything yet. But what I can tell you is that the songs are there. And that's like a powerful feeling for once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Thanks for the insight.
Yeah.
All right, Willie. We'll be in
Thanks a
touch
bunch.
and we'll see you soon. I mean, I'll be here.
Yeah,
for
we'll see you in
know it.
October.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
All right, buddy. See ya.